Day 6 CareerBoost Initiative by the Eastern Pathways Youth Foundation focused on product design and sustainable development goals (SDGs). The sections were anchored by our moderator, Akin Success.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to Day 6 of the CareerBoost Initiative for African Youth.
We had 2 expert speakers share insights on their respective topics on SDGs, along with a UI and UX specialist who has been with us since day 1. Now, let's dive into the lectures.
Hello. Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to day 6 of the CareerBoost Initiative for African Youth Training. My name is Ololade Adeshri, your facilitator for the UI UX design section. How are we doing today? How's our night? How's our day been? Right? Did we do our assignments yesterday to come up with wireframes? I hope, or I want to believe, that we all did. Once again, thank you to the InStride Pathway team for this superb opportunity to be able to teach people about design. Great. So now let's begin. Today we are going to be looking at how to design user interfaces. So I've taught you guys about user research. I've taught you about conducting interviews. I've taught you how to do surveys, how to collate all of those results. And I've talked about empathy maps. I've talked about user persona. That's where your empathy map comes in. So I've spoken to you guys about user personas. I've taught you yesterday also about wireframing. Right. Today now we are going to focus on designing the user interface. And if you remember from day 1, I told you that UI in the UI UX is user interface. So again, user interface, your UI, is what your users see, what they interact with when they use the app or the website that you've designed. So it's usually inclusive of things like your buttons, your text, your images, colors, all of those things that you can see physically and interact with and click, or you can see basically. Those are the things that we call user interface, right? Now, as designers, when we are designing, our major goal is to make sure that the UI we are designing is very easy to use, very easy to understand. You're not trying to design, you're not trying to come up with quadratic formulas that people have to sit down, crack their brains to understand how to use it. Remember from day 1 of this training program, I told you guys that your design has to be easy to use. It has to be something that they can easily understand. Right. Okay, I should have started off with my slides, but yeah. UI stands for user interface. It is what your users will see, what they would interact with when they're using the app or the website that you designed. Now, I'm going to talk about key elements of your UI design. I think I should move my face this way so that I don't block out my screen. All right, so now I'm going to talk about key elements of UI design. So we have things like buttons, we have things like text fields, we have things like images, we have things like colors in UI design, right? So the first key element of UI design that I'm going to talk about is your button. Right, with buttons, they're usually clickable, things that you click on. In your phone, you click on something. So I have my phone, I see a button, I click on it. That's basically button. Those things that you can click on, that helps you to like perform action. For instance, you want to record a Snapchat video, you have to press a button, on your screen to actually start doing that. So that's what UI is about, right? So you want to submit a form, you have an assignment. It's just basically things that you can tap on to perform an action, right? So imagine you're trying to do something on an app and the button you're supposed to click on is very small, that you now mistakenly click on something else. Do you see why designing, like coming up with good designs, is usually very important? So imagine I put two buttons beside each other. Button one is let's say pay now, and button two beside the other button is maybe delete account. Imagine if they are like so small that you have to maybe use your fingertip to click on it. It's going to be a problem. So you're trying to think of all of those small details when you're designing, to make sure that people don't mistakenly perform actions that they were not trying to perform, because the designs you did were very terrible, that sort of thing. So you have to make sure that apart from just making your buttons easy to press, you have to make sure that the color that you're using is going to help your users to know what action to take. For example, if I put a red button, by default you think it has to do with something like delete, or if I put a green button, you might think it has something to do with like, oh okay, proceed, submit, go, because everybody is used to red, green, and yellow. Red means something that has to do with danger, green meaning something that okay, you can proceed, move forward, right? So you have to put all of those things, color, you have to put the size of your buttons into consideration too, right? Another important thing that we're going to look at, another important element of UI design, is text. Now, when you're designing, you have to make sure that the text you're using is easy to read. That means you're using a font that is not too fancy, that people cannot now read it, right? You've seen all of those calligraphic fonts that are usually like very fancy, that look like signature, and you're trying to read it like, oh, what did they write here exactly? You want to make sure that your users can easily read what you've written in your design, your mobile app, your website, and then apart from making sure that it's not too fancy, you have to make sure that it is big enough for them to see clearly, right? You have to make sure that the font you're using in your design is big enough. And then another thing you have to put into consideration is that your text, when I say font, I believe you guys, it has to do with the text. So we have different font types, different fonts with different, I would explain all of those things hopefully if we have enough time, right? But when I say text, so there are different types of fonts. You have Roboto, you have Inter, you have Montserrat, different types of fonts, Lato, but you have to make sure that the font you're using is something that your users can easily read, like they can see it clearly. Now imagine if with these slides I did, and I started using fonts that you cannot easily read, and you have to like strain your eyes to even see what I wrote in my presentation slide. It's going to be a very bad look. So exactly, you have to make sure that in your design, not only are your letters, your texts big enough to read, you also make sure that it sits well against the background. So imagine if I use this, you see this color here, I now use this exact same color to write on top of it. Obviously you will not be able to see what I wrote, because now they've blended it into each other. It's just like using white text on white background. So that thing is called contrast. So your text has to contrast properly against your background. So now you have, in this case, I used a black text against a lilac background. Obviously, you can see how clear my text is. Now you can read what I wrote very clearly without issues, right? Imagine I use maybe a lemon text against this lemon background. Obviously, you will not be able to read it. So if you're using a dark background, you have to make sure that your text is a light colored text so that it contrasts well and your users can see it clearly. And then if you're using like a light background, like I did in this case, you see light background, I used a dark colored text so that you can see it clearly, right? So you see light background, dark colored text, light background, dark colored text. So basically that's what text fields are about. Now you can use text fields are usually used in places where people type, right? Places like when you want to type in your email, when you want to send a message to your friend, that chat field. Exactly. So those are your like text fields. Then the third element we're going to talk about are your images, right? So images are also very important when it comes to designing, when it comes to UI design. Why are they important? Because it helps your app to be more interesting. It helps your website to be more interesting. If I add just texts and just buttons on a design, maybe my website design or maybe an app that I designed, it's going to somewhat look like a PDF. You know what PDFs are? Just like straight text that just layered all the way down, and you don't want that. You want your designs to be interactive. You want people to engage with your design, because how else would you make money if people are not going to use what you designed? So you have to make sure that your images they show information quickly, right? You don't want to use too many images either, so that it doesn't like make your design look cluttered. It doesn't confuse your users to the point where they can't even decide on what exactly they want to look at. Do you understand? So you have to make sure that everything is done in moderacy or with balance in mind. So your text, your images, your buttons, everything has to like balance out each other, so that people are not like too focused on your images to the point where they now forget the main purpose of the app or the website itself, right? Now the last thing that I'm going to talk about when it comes to elements of UI design are colors. I already mentioned a little bit about it when I was talking about fonts, about text fields. Right now with colors are they're like the most, I don't want to say the most powerful, but they're really, really powerful when it comes to UI design, right? Because they can affect how people feel when they use your app. So if you use, for instance, if you notice with apps that are related to like children, the designers tend to use bright, fun colors, right? Because they know that it will make these kids feel excited, it will make the kids feel happy, right? But when you start using colors that are like dark colors, it starts looking very serious. You already know that, oh, we're talking business. Do you understand? So that is why it is very important to make sure that you choose colors that match the purpose of the app again, and make sure that they don't clash with each other. I know you guys know a little bit about color blocking. When you maybe with your dressing you wear green, pink, purple shoes. But when it comes to design, if you're going to blend colors together, make sure that they don't clash. That was why I used a blend of like lemon and this lilac background, just to show you that even though I used two colors that are supposedly supposed to like block out each other or like clash, I still somehow managed it in such a way that it still came out looking okay, right? So you have to make sure that the colors you're using, they don't clash with each other. Now for today's activity, we are going to design a simple user interface, something very basic, right? So I'm going to first show you how to navigate through Figma, right? I am going to show you how to use Figma. Figma is the tool we are going to be using. Figma is the tool we are going to be using to design throughout the session. So I want you guys to know how to use it. I'm going to show you how to use it. All right, so this is Figma. Like I said, I was going to share. So I think I should start from what Figma itself looks like. So you go to figma.com. Figma is FIGMA.com. Then when you're on figma.com, you can create an account, you can sign up, right? You can any of those things basically, and then you can get a student account based on if you have your student ID. Figma will give you like a free account, so you have access to like premium exclusive benefits, offers that you would usually not get unless you're using Figma Premium. So you can get that with your student details, details, like I said. Yes. Now I have created a file on Figma. You'd see new file, so I have done that, and I created one for this training session. I just titled CiAY. You can see the free tag here, and obviously you can upgrade to other plans. You have your professional, you have your organization, so depending on what plan you choose. But like I said, you have access to the professional plan if you use your student details to sign up. Like, you know, I am not a student, so I cannot use my account. I don't have access to this professional package unless I start paying $12 per month, right? But yeah, back to Figma itself. So this is what the Figma interface looks like. Again, this is also a UI. This is a user interface because it's a platform that was designed also. So even though it's a platform for designing, it was also designed by certain people to help people like me and people like you that want to be designers to be able to design. Right, so I will just be showing us what all of these things, what they mean, right? And I think we should start from this side, the obvious side. So you have this export. If I have an image here on my screen and I want to download it, I can just click on export, change the size, the quality, that is, this is at 1x, meaning that the quality is just maybe basic. But if I increase the quality to like 4x, I can download that image in 4x quality. And there are also different formats. If I want to download my whatever it is, whether I can do my slides. Actually, the slides I've been using for these training sessions were all done with Figma, right? So I just had to export them as PDF. So that's for export. And then you have styles. I would explain that. We have local variables. I will try to explain that. We have this page, and then you see these color things. It's also under colors. You can use it to change the color of this page. Like you can see page, this is the color. So if you see this background, this black part, this 1E, 1E, 1E is the color. So if I change it, you see, if I change it, you can see that can also change to different colors. So yeah, that's for the page background color, right? And then you have this prototype part. I think I would prefer to design first before I come into this prototype section so that it's easier to explain. Now let's come back to the design, this part. Now you would see this main menu button. If I click on it, you see a drop down with different options, so you can do different things. I can create a new design file from here. I can create a new FigJam file. I think I mentioned FigJam when we were talking about user flows, or maybe user flows or wireframes, and I said you can use FigJam to come up with all of those things. So FigJam is usually used for like the UX part of design. So it has templates for you to do your user flows, it has templates for user personas, it has templates for user journey maps. Think of any step in your user experience or your user research process, and you can document on FigJam. Right, so you use FigJam for like documenting all of those information you get from your research, your UX, all of those things. Now, new slide deck. Like I said, I used Figma to create my slides for this presentation that I've been doing. And you can also import from other platforms like Sketch. And if I want to place an image on this file, on this page, all I have to do is click on place image, and it will show me like my document, and I can select what I want to place. Now let's go back. We also have, you can save this your design. When you start designing, you can save it. You can also check your version history. So if I make a mistake now and I want to go back in time, maybe to like 3 days ago, to use the version that I designed 3 days ago and bring it back, I can just do version history, copy the design from that version, and then so when I start designing, or when we start designing, you guys will see what all of these things do. And obviously you know what all of this is. Export, I've showed you. Export to PDF, you already know that. I barely use create branch, so yeah, can ignore that for now. Now we have the undo. I want to believe you guys know certain shortcuts on your systems, your computers, your laptops, so you know that Ctrl Z is undo. Then if you want to redo what you undid, you can do Shift then Ctrl Z, right? You can Shift then Ctrl Z. And if you want to copy, you can copy as SVG. So SVG is usually like editable vectors. I don't think I have enough time to go into details, but I would implore you guys to go and read up on certain things that I mentioned that we will not be able to like break down properly in this session. You know, we only have 10 days to try to learn UI UX, so I'm just trying to introduce it to you guys so that you can pick it up from wherever I stop and keep learning. Do you understand? So you don't stop learning after these 10 days, you keep learning. Right now you can also copy as PNG. PNG is usually image. You cannot edit the image, so it's just like the only edits you can do to the image is maybe change, you know, when you edit on PixArt or when you edit with your Face app, all of those other apps, and you can't necessarily maybe remove your head and then put a different, well, these days people do and undo a lot of things, but with Figma, SVG gives you the ability to be able to like edit individual parts of a content, right? So you can change the head of something to a different thing, a different color, a different shape. You can change the leg to something else to completely, exactly. So that's for SVG, and then PNG is just image, and then CSS is code, right? You can copy as code. Now you already know what paste means. If you know what copy means, then you can duplicate. Duplicate is Ctrl D. Copy by default. If you want to just copy, it's Ctrl C. If you want to paste, it's Ctrl V, right? Or Command V if you're using a MacBook. If you want to duplicate, it's Control D or Command D if you're using a MacBook. Now if you want to delete, you know what to click on. Just click on delete on your keyboard. Now if you want to find something, if you design like 20 screens on Figma and you're trying to find something in one of those 20 screens, you can just do Control F to find it. Right, same thing, just a little tweaks, and you can pick colors, you can select all, and and then you have your view. You can add pixel grids, you can add layout grids. I will explain layout grids when we start designing. You can add rulers. So rulers are like on the top and on the you sit on your vertical and horizontal axis. It helps you to design better too. This is what I'm talking about, but I barely use rulers because I like to think that I know what I am doing. So let's go back where we view. So I'm going to hide my rulers, and for pixel grids, when we start designing, I will show you what it looks like on frames. Or I think it should show. No, it can't show yet because we don't have any screen here. I'll show you when we start designing what pixel grids look like. So yeah, you can just play around with all of these things, objects, play around with all of these things. You see that most of them are not clickable. Why? Because I don't have anything on my frame here to display for Figma to like help me. Okay, in fact, I think we should start designing so that we can use most of these things. Now, this is your arrow. This guy, this is it, right? So you can change it to either just move around or to scale on your Figma file. Then you have this frame. You'll notice that on my right, let me move my. So you notice that as soon as I clicked on frame up here, on the right hand here, you'd see that it showed different frame formats that are available that I can pick from. So I have my phone, I have tablet, I have desktop, I have presentation, I have watch, I have paper, social media, Figma community, archive. So obviously you can design for anything on Figma. So if I want to design for phone, I can pick whatever phone size I want. I usually like to go for iPhone 13 mini. So once I select it, it just pastes the frame on my Figma board. Let's pick another frame so that you guys see. Let's pick maybe a desktop this time around. So I just come here, click on that drop down and select the one I want. So I usually like to go with desktop because it's like the default. And you see, it just, once you click on it, it just shows up on your Figma file. Now, we also have like different options under frames. You can either section your frame, or you can your objects, or you can slice through your objects, your elements, right, or your layers. So frame, section, slice. I would show us section, slice. Maybe I'll try to show us before this class ends. All right, so now moving to shapes, we have different shapes. You can already see that this is a rectangle. So once I just click on this, and you see that my mouse has changed. Can you see the shape of my mouse? It's no longer this guy here. It is now like I'm holding something. So it's just waiting for me to click down and drop it. So I'm just going to click down and it has dropped. You see that the mouse changed, the cursor changed immediately I dropped down, right? So this is a rectangle. I can also do other shapes by clicking on this drop down here. I can do a line, I can draw an arrow, a circle, which we call ellipse, polygon, different sides for anything higher than like 3 or 4 sided objects. So you also have your star. Let's do a polygon. You see that my mouse has changed again, my cursor has changed again. I'm just going to drop it and come here to change the count of, that's the number of sides of this shape. Right now you can see that it's 3. Let's change it to 11. Do you see that? So it just changes to 11. I can either increase the count or reduce the count by dragging. You see, you can see this. So now we have a count of 6, increase it, count of 7, increase it, count of 8, count of 11, there's the count of 10. And then you can use this one to do the corner radius. I would explain corner radius better so you guys can see. So this is you see this object, you see the sharp edges. I can make sure that the corner is curved, right? So that maybe depending on what I am designing, or depending on the feel I want for my design. So if I'm designing a button, if you notice with Figma's button here, you can see that the edges are rounded slightly, right? So I can also do the same here. I can either click on this part and drag it in till I'm okay with what the corner radius looks like, or I can come here. This part is for corner radius. You can see once you hover on it, it shows you, and change the corner radius to whatever size I want. So let's do 16, right, so that it's more obvious. So that's corner radius. Do you guys see that? And yeah, that's for corner radius. So I can also increase the length of this shape by just dragging it, or I can come here, you see, width and height. So I can increase or reduce the width either by doing this, by dragging like this, or just typing in let's say 100, right? I can also increase the height the same way by doing this, or by moving it this way, or by just typing in what I want, 64, right? So that's for width, height, for corner radius. Now this part, you can already see that it looks like angle, right? Like it's asking you what angle or what angle of rotation do you want this shape to be on. So right now it's on plane, on a flat surface, right? So it's on a degree of 0. So if I start turning it, you see where I put my mouse to turn, so it's on the edge, so that it can turn, and you notice that my angle of rotation too changes. So you see, turn, or you can just come here and type maybe minus 90. Do you see that? So that's for angle. Now for constraints here, you see this frame, and if you notice on this layers part, you see desktop 1, that's the name of this frame. I can change this name by double clicking and type in, let's say, CiAY. See, you see that the name has changed. Now this is polygon 1 and this is rectangle 1. I can rename this to, let's just say, button, because eventually I might want to use it for a button, and maybe just leave this one as polygon 1 just because. Right, so I was talking about constraints. For constraints, Figma is asking you, how should we fix this object in respect to your frame, right? So you have a rectangle, and you're telling Figma that constrain it to the left, this is the left, and to the top, this is the top of my frame. So you're telling Figma that even if I increase the length of this frame, I want this object here to always stay fixed to the left and to the top. Now I'm going to Ctrl Z and put my frame to the normal size, and I'm going to constrain this guy to the right and also constrain it to the bottom. Do you guys see that? So what this is going to do is that anytime I try to adjust maybe the width or the height of this frame, this object here is going to be, it will keep moving, it will stay to the right So the space will just keep increasing on the left here because I have constrained it to the right. It is going to stay fixed to the right. So as long as I would do an example and show you now, and it will stay fixed to the bottom of the frame. So let's do that. Remember what it looked like when I was adjusting and it was fixed. It was constrained to the left and to the top. Now watch what is going to happen when I have now constrained it to the right and the bottom. Do you see that? So it's you're telling this you've told Figma that no matter the length of that frame, I want this object to stay 1062 pixels away from this edge, from this point. So even if from the right, even if the length of my frame is no longer 1440 and is now 3912, because I have constrained this object to the right, you will notice that the space between this object and the edge of this frame stays the same. So you have fixed it in such a way that no matter the length, even if I reduce the length of this frame to lesser than that 1440, it will still stay. You see that now the length is 1163. It is still going to stay. You see the spacing, same thing, 1062. So that is how constraints work. And if you notice, even as we were moving from the left to the right, this guy stayed fixed to that left because I had constrained it to the left and to the top. Now let's do this again, and this time I would move it both ways so that you guys can see what happens to this guy that was fixed to the left and to the top, and what is going to happen to this guy that is fixed to the right and to the bottom. So watch and see. Now I'm increasing this guy. Now I'm increasing this guy. Now, do you see that this guy that was fixed to the left and to the top kept moving towards the left and the top, even as I was moving this? Now let's do it again for the other guy, 1440. Okay, and now let's try it for this guy. I've already showed you before, but now I want to do the bottom part so that you see. So to the left, to the right. You see that, to the right and to the bottom. Now let's do to the top. You see, so this guy is fixed to the bottom, this guy is fixed to the top, this guy is fixed to the right. Let me show you again. It's constrained to the right, and this guy, this one, is constrained to the left. So it is always going to be what now? 501 steps away from the left, no matter the space, no matter the width of the frame. So that's for constraint. Now let's change this back to the default. Now let's talk about what else. Let's talk about colors. Right, we've talked about constraints, so let's talk about colors. I already showed you how colors are done, so let's just change the color of this. If you know Xcode, I would recommend you guys go on YouTube and learn about color theories, color scales, color styles, because obviously 10 days we do not have enough time to talk about all of those things. But yeah, so you can change your color here to whatever color you want, right? And then you can also add strokes Let me zoom in well. So you see this is a stroke, like an outline around the edge, like a border around the edge of your, so you can increase the size to maybe 4. You see what's happening, and you can change to either inside, center, or outside. And yeah, you can also change the color of your stroke if you've not noticed. You can do that too. So that's for colors. Now let's move on. We've done shapes, we've done frames. Let's go to pen and pencil. Basically, you know what pen and pencils do. You use it to draw shapes that you are formulating in your head by yourself. So do you see that? I want to join this too. So that's for, I just drew this random shape now with the help of my pencil. I can add a color to it. You see, so if I ever want to, maybe if you want to become an artist, you can also put an image inside your object. So but let's use a fill. Let's do maybe green. You see that? So you can just draw random shapes by yourself too. I don't know what I just drew, but I just wanted to show you guys what shapes usually would look like when you use your pencil, and sorry, your pen tool. And then let's go to text. So I can do text. Let's type. What should I type? Hello. You see how I just did that? I just clicked on this text icon, this one here, and just dropped. Hello, my name is Ololade. So that's for text, right? You see that? And then this is the pan tool. Like it looks like hand. It's just to drag. So if you notice when you're using this normal arrow, if I do like this, it can't move the object. It just thinks I'm trying to select something. So this one is for selecting things. But when you use this hand tool, it doesn't select anything, but it moves things around. So you can move things around using this tool, right? So, and then you have this part that is for leaving comments. So if I'm working with maybe 5 or 3 designers, or maybe product managers, or if my oga at work wants to leave a comment on something I already designed, you can just click on this and just say, click here and say, hey, please remove this. Do you understand? And then the next time I come on Figma, I'm going to see, in fact, I would get a notification on my device that I have gotten a new comment on this Figma file. So this is how these are all of these parts. Now I think we should talk about design. Our task today, you were supposed to design an app for book lovers, people that love to read books. If you remember with wireframes, I mentioned that you have, so I can just do like a quick wireframe here to show what will be where. So I have this top part for like my status bar. If you don't know what a status bar is, a status bar is where you see your date and time, your battery level, your internet connectivity. Yeah, so that's what a status bar is. Then I can do another for my header and maybe do this to be longer. Then I can do one for my navigation bar. I'm sure you guys remember what a navigation bar is, where my icons are going to be, right? So home page, if I want to put something else here, put something else here, put something else here. So that's for my navigation bar. And then since it's an app for book lovers, I would expect to display the books that those people will be reading. So I can just, put space for the books that will be displayed. So I can put spacing of maybe 16. between them and increase so that it covers up the entire space, right? So I can extend this for the book covers and do like this for more books, do like this for more books. So that's for books. Then I can also have like a welcome message at the top of the screen, like, oh, hey, another day. If you notice, it's on some of your apps, and maybe a motivational stuff like, what do you want to read today? So you see that, and I can change. Remember when I was talking about fonts, right? So this is where you have your font. You see this part where you have your text. So currently we are using Inter. I'm going to change this. If you notice, the font is already changing. Remember when I said don't use fonts that are not legible, that people would have to, you see now I have to zoom in for you to see. It's a cute font if I was trying to do a signage or something, but not for an app that you're supposed to be able to read clearly. Except I'm going to maybe try to increase the size, but that means it's going to occupy unnecessary space that it shouldn't occupy when I have so much I want to display for people. So yeah, basically you can change this to also be thicker, and then you can also change the color of your font to whatever you want. You know, change the color of your shapes. Remember, I just quickly did a quick wireframe to show you where what is going to be where. Do you understand? So let's change this color so that you see the difference. Right, so this is for the navigation bar. Basically, you see that I'm not looking too much into spacing and all of those things. I just want you guys to know what even this tool is about. Right now, if I were to have a button, maybe add to cart, let's see, let me just quickly show you guys how you can do a button. There are multiple ways, you know, like they usually say, it's not one road you follow to enter market. Exactly, there are multiple ways to create buttons, but I usually like to just what should we do, add to cart. Let's change this to semi bold and change this the size to 14. Right, so I usually like to use auto layout to do my buttons. How does auto layout work? So you just click on the object, that's this text field, and just do, you can either right click and do add auto layout. You see this, and you notice now that there are like spaces on both sides. Do you see that? Or I'm Ctrl Z in now, or you can just what's it called now, do Shift A, and auto layout is added immediately. So you notice that there are different positioning to auto layout. You can see where my mouse is here. You can either align to the top left, align to the top left, align to the top center, align to the top right, or align center, but we're using align center today. I can increase the spacing of the left and right padding to individual spacing by doing maybe 12 and put a comma, and 24. You notice that the spacing here is now more than the spacing here. So this is 12 and this is 24, right? And I can add a color to my background so that it looks like a button. Let's use blue. And you see what I mentioned about contrast? This black on blue text was not working, so let's change this. I want it to look more like a proper button, so let's do 24 on both sides. You see how it already looks like a button? Exactly. So that's how you can do buttons. And remember, corner radius when I told you about corner radius. So you can just come here and add corner radius if you want to. So you already see button ready. So that's how you design with Figma. That's basic things I just want you to learn today. For your activity today, I want you guys to come up with your own screens for your book app. Now this is a remember, this is a wireframe. So when you're designing yours, I'm a Nigerian teacher. I am teaching you white rice, but your assignment, you have to prepare jollof rice for me. So when you're doing your own, I expect to see not just like wireframes, because you've done wireframe assignments yesterday. I want to now see the actual design. So you're going to put actual content. For icons, you can get icons by either right clicking, do plugins, and you can use plugins here, or you can come up here. You see this button, I skipped it the last time I was explaining because we are not gotten there. So you come to plugins, right, and you can search for icon. There are different icons plugins on Figma, but I usually use Iconify, right? So with Iconify, you just search for what you need. If you need an icon for homepage, just search for it. You see different types of icons. So just select the one you want and just drag and drop in here. Right, so you see this is dropped here. I don't like how big it is, so let's put it as 24 so it looks more realistic like a regular apps. All right, you see that. What other icon should we put? Let's put library since it's a book app. Which one looks like a library? This guy. So let's do library. What size did I just use? 24. And I'll put it in my frame again. Make sure that they are on the same, they are aligned. You see that. What other one? Let's use profile and also search for maybe profile. Okay, I already saw one I like here, and just drop and change the, okay, this one came in 24. I just put it in here so they're on the same position. What else can I put? Let me, oh, let's do this three. Let's do a search page for search. Okay, I can already see some. This one is already looking like the vibe. Okay, so I can import icon size 24. That's good, and I can drop it here. Make sure they are on the same size. I want this one to be the last option. I want this one to be the third one, and I want this one to be the second. You see how Figma is helping me to make sure they are on the same position, and I can use their option here to distribute the spacing between each of them to make sure they are equal. See, now they are all equal. So you see it already starting, it's starting to look like an app, right, based on this. Now if I'm on the home page, I can change the color to something else to make it more obvious. So if my primary color is blue, I can use blue so that anybody on this page knows that, oh, you're currently on the home page. So if you switch to like the search page, this button tool will switch to blue. If I switch to the library page, this button would also switch to blue. So I can also, to make it for people that might not understand what each of these icons mean, right, I can add a text like to help them and put home. This is too big. Let's do 12. Let's do medium. All right, and align it. Ctrl D to duplicate, and then align it and change this to search. I can Ctrl D again, make sure they are aligned. Library, Ctrl D again, to duplicate, and the name here to profile. Right, so I can group them. How do I group? I can do Ctrl G, but before I group them, I'm going to make sure they're aligned. You see, I just did align to the center, right? And then Ctrl G to group. Do the same thing here, align them. Looks like this were aligned before. Ctrl G to group them. Do the same thing. This one doesn't look aligned, so yeah, aligned now. Ctrl G, and then align and Ctrl G. Remember, home page, so I can use the color picker. So remember, I can use the color picker, this guy here, click on it to change this color to this one, so they're the exact same thing. I don't have to start guessing, oh, what color is this, what color is that. So yeah, color picker to the rescue. Now, as you can see, it is already looking like an app, so I can just change these guys to pictures of, like, let's use content reel. Let's find content reel. So like I said, you can either go to plugins here and search for what you need, but because I already saved some of these plugins, I already downloaded them or installed them before, I don't have to search for them here. I just go to my own saved plugins and pick it. So let's search for image. Let's look for book. It's taking a while to load. Alright, so we have book cover. So yes, I can just, because it's a book app, I can just apply all to all the places I selected. And to select books, to select items, multiple items, what I did was select the first one, then to select the next one, shift, then select, shift, then select, shift, then select. So it helps you to select everything, and voila, we are already getting there little by little. So for your assignment, remember, think of what let's align these guys properly again. And let's move this spacing so that it's not too much. Yeah, so you already see that it's starting to look, I don't like this because it's supposed to be readable. So let's use Inter and change the size to 16 and change the weight to semi bold, and change this one to a medium, and the color to something dark, so it's not all a little dark but not too dark. Right, so yeah, we're already starting, but yeah, you guys get the point. So please, for your assignment, try to design your own book reading app. Design as many screens as you feel like the spirit is leading you to do, to get. So I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next class, and I hope that you've learned a lot today about what Figma is, what Figma can do. Right, so I just showed you how to design or how to use the different tools available on the Figma interface. So you can use it to design not just mobile apps, but you can also use it to design websites too. Right, see you guys tomorrow. Have a very wonderful evening. Bye.
Hello, my name is Benedicta Apuama, and today I'm going to be speaking to you about career opportunities within the SDGs. So I'm doing this in partnership with the In Stride Pathways Youth Foundation that is based in Nigeria, and with the founder being Adeyinka Adegboke. And actually, this is part of their 100-day Career Boost Initiative for Nigerian undergraduates and graduates. Come along with me. Who am I? I'm Benedicta Apfoma. You already know that. I'm a Nigerian trained pharmacist and I have a master's degree in international health and social management from the Management Center Innsbruck in Austria. I also have over 5 years of experience working in program management. I've worked with international organizations like the UN, Management Sciences for Health, as well as Students Villages International, etc. I recently won the Science Speed Talk competition at the Geneva Health Forum in Switzerland, 2024, to be precise. So that's just a little bit about me. For the purpose of this lecture, we're going to be talking on what is a career, what's a career part, what are really the UN SDGs, and how do these two intersect? How and when do you start? What next after this course? And of course, you connecting with me. What is a career? A career can refer to a profession, someone's occupation or vocation. And since we're dealing more with undergraduates and possibly recent graduates, your career can be linked to your course of study. Your career goes beyond what you study in school. So a career path really it's about the jobs, or series of jobs that a person has done. So that's what actually builds up a person's career. Would learn more. Now that we have an idea what a career or a career path is, what are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? What are they really about? So we hear about the UN. The UN is an organization, a big organization that has what we call convening power. And the reason why they have that power, the reason why they are that big is because they are made up of representatives from different countries. Okay, so these representatives from different countries came together to say, what can we do to make our world a better place? I'm talking about over 100 countries. So we're talking Nigeria, we're talking the US, the UK, we're talking different countries. So you know that the problems or the challenges that are in Nigeria are different from the challenges in other countries. Maybe the center problem might be, for instance, let's say climate change, for instance. But the way it affects Nigerians might be different from the way it affects Germans and the way it affects people in Asia. You know what I mean? So they came together to put a set of goals that these goals, however they look, affects either one of the countries or a group of the countries or all of the countries. So the idea is, okay, how can we achieve peace and prosperity in our various countries? Then maybe let's set goals. So goal one has to do with no poverty. So what can we do to ensure that all of our countries get out of poverty? Goal two talks about hunger. What can we do to ensure that people are not starving? Should we invest more in agriculture? For people in Nigeria, they can say, okay, maybe let's invest in agriculture. People outside of Nigeria, they may also talk about agriculture, but their problems may be different from other countries. For instance, Nigeria generally has good weather. For people who are living in Europe or places like Russia, where more than half of the year the ground is covered with snow, how do they grow food? So you see, even though they are generally talking about one topic, hunger, the ways in which each of those countries will tackle this problem will be different. So that's the idea of having these 17 goals. And it's so important to know that not only do people set goals, they are not just ambiguous or ambitious goals. Like you say, okay, no hunger without a roadmap. These goals actually have targets. If you take time to read, they have targets under them, different points, different areas. For instance, my area of interest is especially XG3, which talks about health, ensuring that people have access to health. So under that, you see different areas that they align on places that for us to be able to achieve, good health and well-being for people all over the world. They talk about issues maybe like sexual reproductive health, maybe they talk about teenage pregnancy, those kind of things. And there are 17 of them. I hope you understand. I have a full course. It's called Assessing International Opportunities Within the UN on YouTube. At the end of the lecture, you would have my name the way it is that you can find me on YouTube, and you can also access this course there for free. Yes, just subscribe while at it. Now you have an idea what your career path is and what the UN SDGs are. So how do they come together? Or how do they intersect? Some careers actually directly or indirectly advance the UN SDGs. It's interesting to know, remember I told you that your career goes beyond your course of study. Aligning your careers with UN SDGs is like giving your careers different opportunities to blossom or to shine. So ordinarily, like I mentioned that my first degree is in pharmacy. You would think maybe, yes, I should be working in a hospital or community pharmacy outlet or in research or what, in the industry. But because I have found out about the UN SDGs, I've been able to still align the different works that I do while still in health or pharmacy or public health. Still, it aligns with the UN SDG 3, which talks about good health and well being. So, aligning your career goals with the SDGs not only ensures that you are advancing your personal goals or the objective of the organization that you're working for, but also that you are contributing to the global well being. The how is what I'm here to guide you on. What is your course of study? What is your passion? What really do you like? What are you passionate about? And how can you align your passion or your course of study with the UN SDGs? I'm asking about your passion because I know that there's very good possibility that what you're studying in school is not really what you like. You say, oh, well, this is what the university gave me, Uniport or Delso or Uniben. This is what they gave me, but this is what I like is another thing. The good thing about the UN SDG, like I said, or a career, yes, it can be linked to your course of study, but it is not limited to that. There are so many things that you can do. So if you can align your passion or your course of study, whichever one appeals to you most with the UN SDGs, you will go very far. There are 17 of them. So don't mind me that I'm making examples around 3, 4, or environments and all this. You can go and study the goals, the UN SDGs. The goals, they have targets under them. So when the UN came together, the member states to create the 17 goals, they did not just make ambiguous or ambitious goals of saying, okay, let's eradicate poverty. Like SDG 1 talks about what? No poverty. 2 says no hunger. It's okay, no hunger in the whole of Africa, in the whole of Asia, the whole of Europe, America. But how do you do that? That's where the targets come in. I am more familiar with SDG 3 because of my background in health. So it's not just about saying, oh, let everyone have good health, and, let everyone, have access to health or well-being. There are targets underneath. So there are things that can count as making the country not to have good health or that people there don't have well-being. It could be teenage pregnancy. It could be malaria for Africa, especially tropical Africa. It could be sexual reproductive health, care. And this is not just Africa, but globally. So there are targets underneath. Your course of study or your passion may not intersect with the entire goal. It may be a target, and that is enough. So which of the UN SDGs or the targets does it align with? Who are your target audience? For the career that you want to build, who are your target audience? Are there people who are already doing what you would like to do, or or something similar, because this will give you the opportunity to study other people to say, oh, okay, maybe this is this is how they did theirs. Maybe I should learn from them, etc. What next? Your action plan. So I'm sure, having taken this lecture to this point, you already have ideas, lots of ideas coming to your mind, and that is very good. And you also need to know that it's all right not to have it all figured out from the beginning. It's okay. I didn't have it all figured out from the beginning, and right now I don't think I still have it all figured out. I'm still learning and relearning or unlearning and all of that, asking questions. So that is it. But it's important that you create a plan. Nonetheless, please create a plan. This plan will help you identify what resources that you need. When do you need to, what do you need to start? Do you need to volunteer somewhere to gain skills, to gain more experience on what you would like to do? Do you need to take a course like you're already doing now? Do you need to take more courses like the course that I have on assessing international opportunities within the UN SDGs on my YouTube, Benedicta Apoma? You can find me. And do you need to do some research? Do you need finances? But whatever it is, start from where you are. Start anyways, whether you have everything complete or not. Just start. And the fact that we already have tools like the social media tools, utilize those. You have so much power already. Utilize them. Since we're talking about the UN SDGs, which is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, it's important that you set goals too. And not only should you just set goals, you should set smart goals, because goals give you direction, and allow you to be focused, on where you should go and all of that. So what do I really mean by smart goals? We're going to find out. And what do I mean by smart goals? Specific. You should know exactly what the outcome of the goal is. I know I told you that you don't have to have it all figured out from the beginning, but it's okay to set goals and to think, within this context of having a smart goal. Be specific. Try to be as specific as possible. Even though, yes, there may be some turnout of events, but it's good to have a plan. Let your plan be measurable. So you see how I mentioned that, they're taking away plastics from this place, to reduce breeding ground for mosquitoes, to also help curb climate change, and making beautiful artworks out of them. So how can they track, the impact of what you're doing? Your goal should be, you should be able to track it. How can you track? One of the wonderful ways is, it can be through small surveys or small research. I didn't learn this immediately, but now as I'm growing and with a master's degree, I am learning more. So how can you track, for instance, let's say in that community, people know that they treat, or in that street, they know that they treat malaria maybe once in 3 months. But maybe since him and his friends started picking up those plastics from those places, reducing the breeding grounds of mosquitoes and all those things, now people are now beginning to treat malaria only once in 6 months. There you have it. That's your result. And how can you measure this? Simply creating small surveys. They don't have to be, all structured, everything so well done. Just having a few set of questions, to give people to answer, or to even ask them, if depending on how the neighborhood is, if it's a place that you can send links to people, Google Forms for them to fill, sure, that even helps you analyze it better. So this is just, but if it's also to just go around to ask them, and take notes, that's also something. So your goal should be measurable. If you're saying, okay, I want to be able to create something or do something or align my career path, align my course of study or my passion with the UN SDGs, how do you measure that? Maybe by successfully designing a project, or by successfully finding an organization to volunteer with during your free time. That is something achievable. You should be able to achieve your goals. So it should be, like I said, baby steps. It should be something that you can do now. Don't go put something too high that you cannot do. And it should be relevant. So will this help you on the long run? If you're doing something now, the goal you're setting now, as against the future, will it if, for instance, you say you want to, like I said, you want to align. If the goal is to align your career or your passion with the UN SDGs, will volunteering with an organization right now contribute to your overall goal? And it should be time bound. If you're saying I want to do this, try and put a time frame to it. Okay, maybe now I have exams or I have so many classes or so many assignments to turn in. Okay, but maybe in 3 weeks after I'm done, I can give it 1 week. Set time so that you know how to track it. Wow, you're the real MVP. Yo, we made it to the end. So thank you for coming to my lecture. This is the time you connect with me. On Facebook, you can find me as Benedicta Chukwuem Apoama. On LinkedIn, you can find me as Benedicta Apoama. On YouTube, which is very important because that's where you get the access to the free course. It's free. The only thing you need to do is to subscribe while at it. So on YouTube, you find me as Benedicta Apoama, and you can also find me on Instagram as Benedicta Chukwuem Apoama. Thank you for staying to the end. Thank you again. And remember, I'm doing this in partnership with the InStride Pathways Youth Foundation with Adeyinka Adegboke as the founder. And this is part of the 100-day career boost for Nigerian graduates and undergraduates. So thank you again. Thank you. Bye.
Hi everyone, I'm Boluwatife Majorogbe, and for this section we'll be speaking on decent work and economic growth, which is SDG 8. Before I move further in this discourse, I would like to appreciate the organizers of this initiative, InStride Pathway Youth Foundation. This annual 30 Days CareerBoost Initiative for Africa. This is a timely initiative. So let's get to it. Before we continue, please you should know a little bit about me. I'm Boluwatife Majorogbe, a graduate of law from the Obafemi Awolowo University. I'm the founder of TechUp. And I know you might be wondering, what does a lawyer have to do with tech? So here is the fact that this idea of TechUp was birthed when I became a Millennium Fellow in 2021. So I worked on SDG 8 and on SDG 4. So we trained young ones in secondary school and relevant skill for now and the future. So since then I've been an SDG advocate, even though I've been in the social impact space for a while since my early days as an undergrad. So the essence of this is to actually, play our part in reducing the unemployment rate in Africa. We believe that startup is actually a very good solution to reducing unemployment, and we'll just not just delve into startup without building the right skill in young Nigerians and Africa. So this is not limited to Nigeria, this is not limited to Africa, but I mean that's our melee. So that's the reason why you might be hearing that a little bit. So overview of the presentation, we have the introduction that's introducing the SDG 8, little bit of background and the features of SDG 8, that's promoting sustained economic growth, achieving higher level of productivity, adapting to the fourth industrial revolution, and promoting development-oriented policies. Then we conclude. So let's go to the introduction. The introduction. SDG simply means Sustainable Development Goal. So in the year 2015-2016, the then Secretary General of United Nations, that's Ban Ki-moon, and the Deputy Secretary General Amina J. Mohammed was brought up about 17 goals to sustain development among member states of the United Nations. I mean, So these goals are 70 and they are called sustainable development goal. Now, having been that we have grown out of the millennium goal, like the year for the millennium goal has been, has elapsed, and countries like China really dig deep into utilizing those millennium goals. To my mind, that's exactly what China implemented, and that brought them from a second world to a first world. So, um, moving further, I would say that SDG 8 is the eighth goal of Sustainable Development Goals, which is decent work and economic growth. So basically, it aims to sustain development to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. So these goals, especially SDG 8, is channel. It has the aim majorly of preparing countries of the world for the fourth industrial revolution. We know there are technological advancement around the world, so this goes says to that, and I will tell you, it's a timely one considering the things that have been happening way back 2016 and now in 2024. The goal emphasizes the importance of creating job opportunities that are not only productive but also provide a fair income, social protection, and safe working environment condition rather, and also environment. So let's go to the first aim of SDG 8. The first aim of SDG 8 is to promote sustained economic growth. So I'll be giving scenarios to explain what promoting sustained economic growth means. But before then, global GDP growth is expected to be 4.2% in 2024. But challenges like inequality and climate change could hinder progress. This is from Bloomberg. So what does it mean to promote? What's the aim of promoting sustained economic growth? Let's say, for instance, imagine you have a big jar of cookies and you want to make them last for a long time. So, if you eat just one cookies every day instead of eating every one of them, like in a day, the cookies will last longer, right? And you can enjoy them every day. So, sustained economic is like that. It means taking care of things in a way that keeps them going for a long time. Instead of using all our resources or spending too much money to quickly, I mean, enjoy gratification. We delay gratification. We use them carefully so that we can keep having what we need and want, and what we can keep having what we need for a long time. It is like making sure your cookies last and you have some every day. Like instead of, oh, put this here, put this here, and within the first 10 days you've finished everything. Your plan was these cookies will sustain me for the next 60 days. That is just an overview of promoting sustained economic growth. And then I will just put this to us in that looking straight at countries in Africa majorly, I would say if we religiously, religiously follow these 17 goals in Africa, we are good to go. In the next 5-10 years, Africa is ready. A developed continent if we follow through. Spoke about justice. Just take your time and read through the goals. And yeah, let's move to the next one: higher economic productivity. So, the productivity of labor in the global economy grew by 2.2 in 2023. But disparity between developed and developing countries remains significant. This is a source from World Bank. So, what does high economic productivity means? So, like I said, I'll be using scenarios. So, again, you're imagining. So, let's imagine. Or should we not imagine? Okay, a better word can I use? Okay, think about you having a toy factory where you can make toy cars. Yes. If you and your friends are really good at making toy cars quickly and with fewer mistakes, you can make a lot of toy cars in a short time. This means your factory is very productive. So there's a rule in economics while I was in high school that says the higher the supply, the higher the prices. I'm sure I'm right with this. Yes. So higher economic productivity is just like that. It means being able to make more things or do more work in the same amount of time. So if your toy factory gets even better or making toy cars faster with less effort, that's like having higher productivity. It's like being super efficient and getting a lot done within the same amount of time and resources. You agree with me that AI can play a part in this. So aside from that, you need to have train people that are well skilled, well skilled set of people, and that is what we'll be going to in the third part of the aim of a sustainable development goal 8, which is adapting to the fourth industrial revolution. If you're working with me very well, you see that this is a little bit chronological. They are not in isolation. You cannot want to build a productive economy or a sustained economy without having the right manpower. And I tell you something for free. Africa is a youthful continent, which is a blessing already to actually outdo the world. On the global economic scale. We have about 70% of our population to be young persons between the age of 0 and 30, if I'm right. And we must be careful of our dilemma. If we do not put the right skill, build the right value in this set of people, and they would look for something to make head mean, and so likely crime will increase and the like. So what you're seeing around in many countries, I don't want to mention Africa. So let's move to adapting to the fourth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution is transforming industry with technology such as AI, Internet of Things as IoT, and robotics. It is expected to create 133 million euros by 2025, while displacing 75 million jobs, source World Economic Forum. This is why we go out to tell young ones, to tell people, learn a skill, learn a digital skill. It will pay off later because the world is evolving. The world does not use like 4 years to evolve again. It spends like 6 months, in fact, sometimes 4 months, 3 months to evolve. I can talk about what we're seeing in way back 2019, 2018. It's all on startup, build idea, e-commerce around, Nigeria. That's where you have, ideas like, what do you call these people that buy things, from them online, and a lot of Conga. Quite a number of them, 2018, 2017, those were the things trending. And fast forward to like 2019, 2020, fintech came to blow up the Nigeria space. I have quite a number of friends that, founded their own startup, got money from, US and the likes. And they were doing good until some things came up. So for us to build all these things, we need the right manpower, the right digital skill, the right knowledge, the right value among our young persons. I think there was a time I wrote on my LinkedIn page that the world is moving at a very faster pace. Before you look at it, it was the dot-com bubble. Then we moved to the social network age. Then from there, we stayed in the social network age. Then came in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin and the likes. And cryptocurrency never even stayed like too long on the radar, and that was in Nigeria in 2020. I know Bitcoin was, I think, mined in 2009 by Satoshi Nakamoto, if I'm right. So all this is till Web3 came. Then we started hearing about AI, artificial intelligence, IoT, metaverse, talk about them. And now you see what AI is doing. Recently, I was reading Elon Musk's page and he made mention of artificial intelligence limitation bill in California. I went to read up on it, like, wow. So the world is not even waiting again. They've seen how far danger, how risky AI can be. On the surface, it's still, using AI to mimic somebody's voice and making them say what they actually did not say, and to be trending online and everywhere, and the person will be wondering, wow, when did I make this statement? Political propaganda and the like. So And this is just the beginning. And I was joking with my friend. This is not scary. That terrorism in the next few years will not be about people carrying gun and the likes again. Could just be sending a robot down, like what you see in the movie, to a particular domain, and you control it from your room. So you see how fast the world is going. Don't be scared. That's just an enlightenment. So let's move on to the fourth one. Now this is where you see our job as a lawyer. Development oriented policy, which I would say there's nothing you want to do in this life that you don't have rules and regulation. Like I made mention of California bill to mitigate the risks of artificial intelligence, robots, and the like. So we need rule. Let me just usually this time I will use imagine. But before then, countries implementing development oriented policies saw a 30% increase in job creation compared to those without. This is from United Nations Development Program. I listened to Vusi Tembekwayo and he made mention of a statement. Vusi Tembekwayo is a South African entrepreneur and he's doing well. He's doing well. I listened to a lot of his podcasts and I've learned a lot. So that's just on the flip side. He made mention of something sometimes ago and he said, imagine Mark Zuckerberg in the continent of Africa, like some of us are, and with that fantastic idea of Facebook. Who do you think will give him 500k ground dollars? I mean, $500,000 to. I mean, who do you think? Just imagine. So, policies will actually create a better environment for development. How do we? Can know we have a startup act 2022 that gives startup tax holiday, but one major issue we have in Africa is the fact that we do not know how to implement the right. We don't know how to implement sweet policies that we have. We have some fantastic policies, but they're not followed judicially. Is an internal problem, especially here in Nigeria. I mean, take a look at the Startup Act. Even though I have some bit of criticism, and one of the criticism is um, building an ecosystem in each state that can actually withstand. Like I was saying, you don't just start putting money on startup when you don't have the technical know. Though the world is a global village, but also no matter how remote job may be thriving, sometimes we still need to see. We still need an office space to work sometimes. And if imagine we having startups here in Nigeria and in a low income country, think about it. And we do not have enough citizens that knows the technical know how to run those startups. And what are these basic skills, like I used to say? Learn computer programming, learn video editing, learn animation, learn artificial intelligence, learn robotics. I mean, learn, I beg your pardon, learn data analysis. Excuse me, sorry for that. Learn data analysis and being just this few I've mentioned cut across so many cybersecurity. How would I forget such a great skill? So these are just largely my opinion. I feel it will help the continent of Africa in building a startup. So in conclusion, before I conclude, I want to say this. SDG is not in isolation. One of the best way I feel skill can be built is infusing them into the educational system. There's a reason why Lionel Messi is a very great player. Haaland and the likes. Have you thought about their upbringing? Messi's father was a coach in Argentina and at a very young age he discovered the skill. So little wonder he has been in Barcelona since he was very young, sponsored by UNICEF, and you see what great he has made to the world. Talk about Haaland, talk about Mark Zuckerberg, whose father at a very early stage put him through someone that teach him how to code. In those days, they saw the future. And all these things came in form of education. So one of the best way that quality education can be built is infusing some of the goals of SDG8, decent work and economic growth, into the educational system through vocational, subject that we used to have in primary school, secondary school those days. Why not have computer programming, robotics, and the likes? It is going to expose young ones. We don't have to start it. Let's look through the future. AI is going to take over. My friend said recently, he said, I'm a software developer and I must tell myself the truth. AI is likely going to come and take my job. I'm a lawyer. I don't want to tell myself the truth. There'll be one robot lawyer that asks me to sit down tomorrow. And then that's the fear generally from everyone. I remember in 2018, here, my friend and I went for a pitch deck in Obafemi Law University. And the idea we had was to make government agencies run faster by digitalizing most of their operation. And somebody on the panel just said, I work in so and so place. So do you mean my job with this place? And my friend responded, either you like it or not, jobs are evolving. There was a time that typists, shaitan people were actually making big wave. But I don't think anyone hear about them now again. So the world is evolving. So you have to evolve. You have to evolve. Dear accountants, you have to evolve. Dear medical doctors, dear lawyer, you have to evolve. Please be tech inclined. Be tech inclined. It's very, very important. Those of you that want to study medicine, those of you that want to study law, any course you want to study in university, please be tech inclined. And there are new courses in university now in Nigeria, like cybersecurity, and why don't you look into those things? Information technology. Yeah, the world is evolving, though we are not at a very fast pace, but we also we're trying to catch up with the world. So, in conclusion, the achievement of Sustainable Development Goal 8 is fundamental to building of a resilient and inclusive future. You will agree with me that um you will agree with me that um by fostering decent work, economic growth, we can create society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. This is very, very important. The 30 Days Career Boost Initiative serves as an essential platform to empower Nigerian undergraduates and graduates, aligning their aspiration with the global agenda of sustainable development. As we navigate through challenges and opportunities presented by the fourth industrial revolution, our focus must remain on creating equitable access to skill education and ensuring that economic growth benefits all. I'm Buluat and Majorigbe. On this note, I want to say thank you for your attention and I look forward to our collective journey towards a more sustainable and prosperous future. Yeah, have a great day. Thank you.